Utah is constitutional carry, but that phrase is where people get sloppy. The state gives lawful owners a lot of room to get themselves arrested. So would you bet your freedom on what you think you know? Chapter 1. Carry Baseline. Utah's baseline is pretty simple. It is a constitutional carry state. If you are a lawful adult 21 or older and not prohibited, Utah generally allows open carry and concealed carry without a Utah concealed firearm permit, as long as you are not in a restricted place and you are not otherwise breaking the law. Utah also still has a concealed firearm permit system, or CFP. Those are not pointless pieces of plastic in a permitless carry state. They can still matter for schools, daycare rules, reciprocity, and something people forget about at the gun counter, which we hit in Chapter 5. But 18 to 20-year-olds are a different conversation. Utah has a provisional concealed firearm permit, or PCFP, for people 18 to 20. It can let that person carry concealed, but it is not the same as a standard adult CFP. It expires when the person turns 21, and it does not unlock every place a standard permit may unlock. These age rules are about carrying, not buying. We'll cover purchase rules later. Utah honors out-of-state concealed firearm permits, but do not assume another state's permit gives you every Utah CFP exception. Now, the first major trap is not whether Utah lets you carry. It is where Utah stops letting permitless carry act like a free pass. Chapter 2. Prohibited Places. Let's start with schools. Utah school property is one of the biggest danger points because the building is not the only thing people worry about. School grounds, pickup, drop-off, events, and the front office are where people get confused. On K-12 school premises, permitless carry is not okay. A 21 and older Utah CFP holder has a concealed carry exception, not an open carry exception. A provisional permit for an 18 to 20-year-old does not give the same K-12 school access. Curbside pickup is generally fine, but federal law adds a separate 1,000-foot Gun-Free School Zones Act layer. Without a CFP, the federal vehicle path is unloaded and locked in a container or locked firearms rack. Daycares are another place people miss. A Utah CFP can matter there, but not an out-of-state permit. A preschool or childcare program can trigger separate rules even when it shares space with another facility. Public colleges are not a blanket no-gun zone. Concealed carry may still have a lawful path, but since May 6, 2026, open carry is generally restricted. Airports are layered too. Flying with a gun is legal if you do it the right way. Unloaded, locked in a hard-sided case, check baggage, declared to the airline. Check out our video on flying with a gun, because even with a CFP, carrying into the secure area of an airport is a big problem. If you are doing curbside pickup or drop off and you stay outside the airport secure area, that is generally okay. Utah also has secure area rules, including places like correctional facilities, law enforcement secure areas, and courthouses. If the place has a legally established secure area, treat it as a hard stop. And yes, federal property still has its own rules. National parks can follow state firearm possession law, but federal buildings inside those parks are a separate issue. And the place that feels the most ordinary might be the one with the least room for argument. Post offices are a hard stop for most people. Federal postal rules prohibit carrying or storing firearms on postal service property, so the building and parking lot are both part of the problem. Now, private property. A house of worship can prohibit firearms by giving notice, including public notice or other legally recognized notice. Utah even keeps an official list of houses of worship that have notified the state. For normal businesses, the clean practical rule is still simple. If the owner or someone in control tells you firearms are not allowed, leave or secure it somewhere lawful. Now, restaurants and alcohol are a different bucket. Utah does not have a Texas-style 51% rule. A bar or restaurant is not automatically off limits just because alcohol is served, but carrying while under the influence is where problems start. Utah uses the same intoxication line as driving, a blood alcohol level of 0.05. Chapter 3. Vehicle laws and getting pulled over. The car is where Utah feels easier than a lot of states, but easier does not mean impossible to screw up. For handguns, Utah is not one of those places where the glove box, center console, backpack, or holster automatically turns into 5 different legal traps. A bigger question is simple. Are you legally allowed to have the gun, and are you in a vehicle you control or where you have permission to have the firearm? But the vehicle rule does not erase restricted place rules. If you are leaving a firearm in the vehicle, check the rule for that specific place. Some places treat locked vehicle storage differently, and some places do not give you that lane at all. Here's the part that catches people who thought they understood the vehicle rule. Long guns are the vehicle trap. Utah's permitless vehicle rule may cover a loaded handgun, but not a loaded rifle, shotgun, or muzzle-loaded rifle. For that, you need the Utah CFP, provisional permit, temporary permit, or recognized out-of-state permit. So you get pulled over with a gun. Now what? Utah is not a duty to inform state, but it recommends disclosure for safety. If the officer asks about weapons, do not lie. You can choose not to answer certain questions, but make that decision calmly and understand it may change the tone of the stop. Keep your hands visible, move slowly. Do not reach without explaining. If you choose to disclose, keep it calm and simple. Officer, I want to let you know I have a firearm in the vehicle. How would you like me to proceed? An officer may give safety instructions during the stop, and depending on the situation, may temporarily secure the firearm. Do not argue that out on the roadside. Stay calm, follow lawful commands, and deal with any legal issues after the stop. So, do you think Utah should be duty to inform or not? Chapter 4. Prohibited people. If you are prohibited, none of the carry talk matters. And the scary part is that some people do not find out they are prohibited until the moment they are already in trouble. Utah has restricted person categories, and federal law has its own hard stops too. The normal examples are felonies, certain violent crimes, domestic violence, protective orders, certain mental health adjudications, controlled substance issues, and other disqualifiers. The part that gets people is that prohibited does not always look like a prison sentence. Some people are walking around with an old case, an old order, an old drug issue, or a domestic violence problem and still think, that was years ago, I'm probably fine. Probably fine is not good enough when the object is a firearm. And yes, some people can get rights restored. Utah law recognizes things like expungement, a court-ordered reduction, a pardon, or restoration of civil rights. And even if you are not banned from owning a gun, that does not automatically mean Utah has to issue you a permit. Utah's permit process also looks at good character. Utah's permit rules list things that can stop someone from getting a permit, including felony convictions, crimes of violence, alcohol offenses, controlled substance offenses, moral turpitude offenses like sex crimes or fraud, domestic violence, and mental incompetency adjudications unless reversed or withdrawn. Utah also publishes firearm safe harbor storage locations for people trying to temporarily separate themselves from firearms during a crisis. Now the question for viewers, should felons be able to earn their gun rights back? Chapter 5. Purchasing. At the gun counter, the mistake is simple. Carry age and purchase age are not the same thing. That means dealer handgun purchases are 21 and up, while long guns are 18 and older. At the gun counter, you fill out ATF Form 4473, and the dealer runs the required background check through Utah BCI, the state's firearm background check system. Now, like I said in Chapter 1, this is where a valid Utah CFP can matter. A valid Utah CFP can waive the normal BCI background check and fee. The dealer still verifies the permit with BCI, but it is usually faster and avoids the normal delay path. And if you are under 21, do not point to Utah's provisional concealed firearm permit and say, "But I can carry." Utah's provisional permit guidance says a provisional permit holder cannot use the permit to buy a handgun from a federal firearms license because federal law still blocks handgun purchases from dealers for people under 21. Without the waiver, the buyer gets one of three answers: proceed, delayed, or denied. A normal delay can reach 3 business days. For buyers under 21, an initial delay can trigger a 10 business day window. After that, the dealer may release only if legally allowed or refusal from the dealer. Utah also does not have a mandatory state waiting period, and Utah does not have a magazine capacity limit or assault weapon style ban for normal firearms the way some restrictive states do. Private sales are where people start acting like no paperwork means the law disappeared. Well, it didn't. If you sell, transfer, or hand a gun to someone you know is prohibited, permitted, that is not private. That is a legal problem with your fingerprints on it. Utah has a voluntary private sale check through BCI. It can verify a Utah permit and check whether the firearm is reported stolen, but the state cannot force you to use it. Gifts can be legal, but buying a gun for someone else with their money, lying about the actual buyer, or helping someone dodge the background check system is where straw purchase problems start. So keeping yourself out of trouble really isn't hard. And that is really the theme of Utah. The state gives lawful gun owners a lot of room, but your gear still has to work in real life. Jane's going to show you how we make everyday carry more comfortable, more stable, and easier to stick with.
Hey, if you made it this far, you probably care about doing things right. If you've tried carrying in gym shorts or sweats, it just never feels quite right. Waistband moves, holster shifts, it's fine, but it's not dialed. That is why we built Relaxed Fit Tactical. Our shorts lock onto an inner belt, so your holster clips to a hidden belt, not just fabric. Same setup, same draw, just more comfortable. So if you carry every day, this just makes sense. Links below.